Okay, good now, everyone. Welcome to an exclusive Talder Discord Q&A with the charming Ess Hödlmoser, who plays the formidable and somewhat still mysterious M on our beloved motherland Fort Salem. With S's wide and varied career, spanning from stunt coordination to contortion, they have wide-ranging experience in the industry. Since they started work on our favorite show, we have been desperate to meet them.
Yes, welcome us. Thank you so much for bravely coming on to hang here with us at the Talder Discord. How are you today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm fantastic.
Amazing. We thrive on chaos here, as you've already seen, I'm sure. So we've got no set structure for this Q&A. We'll just let our members throw some questions your way at random, and well, we're gonna have some fun.
All right. Works for me. On that grid of ways to be in the world, I'm definitely tipping towards chaotic good. So I think I'm going to feel right at home.
Awesome. I feel like there's a lot of chaotic good in this server.
I'm chaotic
And
neutral, so.
Ooh, of course you are.
May I add one note before we kick off?
Of
Yes,
course.
of course.
There's a funny thing that happened at some point, I think when The Boys came out, where one of the Amazon Prime X-ray notes marked me as an assistant coordinator. I was assistant to a coordinator. I've never been a stunt coordinator, and it's kind of like saying a cadet is a general. Every time I hear this circulating, like my stomach like clenches, and I'm like, no, it's not me. I don't have that responsibility. So yes, I have had a stunt career. I have never been a coordinator. If anyone from stunts is listening, it's not true. I didn't say it.
Oh.
Well, we are glad you finally got to set the record straight.
Oh God, I feel better.
Server. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to get that out.
It's a weight off my chest. Thank you. Let's continue.
And speaking of things that you might need to get off your chest, we have to ask this question, even though we know we're going to get a resounding, like, I can't tell you anything, but because that's what we've gotten from everyone. But is there anything you can tell us about season 3, even a costume piece, or, you're going to have a toupee for an episode, like anything like that you can tease?
Oh yeah, no.
I didn't think so. But it's worth a shot. You got to get that out of the way.
It's worth a shot. Yeah.
I respect the hustle, friends. I respect it. Even if I can't meet you in the middle on that one.
That is totally fair. We're just excited for whatever you guys come up with.
I think you're gonna like it.
We have no doubt we're gonna love
it. Yes,
Kat, a toupee. I thought about a toupee. Okay, there was, what are you gonna
Wait,
do?
stop. Are people? Is that in relation to me? Are people asking if I have one?
I made a joke because you have no hair and you're deliciously bald, and it would be hilarious, I think, if M had a toupee for an episode.
Oh no, I have a stitch.
But with no explanation at all. It just happens.
And just like recreate that. Just recreate that opening scene on the couch where you just like look over my shoulder and smirk, but with the toupee.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Think you can pitch that for us?
I'll talk to them.
We don't want it to be a plot point. We just want it to be on screen. No one mentions it.
Oh God! At the very least, I could make a TikTok.
Yeah.
Please.
Oh yes.
Okay,
Even
sorry.
Magic has its limit.
All right, so we're gonna call on our amazing members of the server to ask you some questions now. We're gonna go first with our dear Asmodeus. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly.
Asmodeus.
Yeah. Asmodeus,
He's a
welcome.
demon from the underworld. That's okay.
You can talk now. I don't know if maybe we're not being able to listen to you. Yeah, I think there's an audio problem.
Come out, come out.
All right, we're gonna try Sarah, and then we can go back to.
Yeah. We'll come back to you.
Try to reconnect and ask for permission again.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
Ess. Hi. Thank you so much for being here. Like Arthur said, there may be varying levels of chaos today. I think a lot of people are still on the Q&A with Catherine hangover that happened yesterday. But thank you so much for being here. It's such an awesome thing. My question was, what were the qualities that drew you to the role of M, and what characteristics of yourself did you infuse into that persona?
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for your question. I mean, I remember I listened to the Catherine chat last night, and it was awesome. And at some point, someone had asked Kat something similar about, I think, what drew her to the role of Petra. And she had a fantastic answer. It's like when we get these opportunities, we're presented with a character description, and we go from there. And M is described as a very loyal coven leader with a dry sense of humor, who's very protective of their unit. It was not like the densest character description, but those are like the core parts that make up M. And I mean, I think that maybe this is out of line. I think that all of us can find a little bit of those qualities in ourselves. And when it comes to approaching a character for an acting gig, it's about, for me, like finding personal experiences or thinking about relationships that I've had that amplify those qualities and bring those to the front of the character. So they're what shine through the most for us. And then, of course, we have the writers creating situations where we get a chance to let those qualities shine. That maybe sounds like a bit of a dodge, but honestly, like all of us have a feeling about loyalty. All of us have feelings. I think everybody on this server is more than dryly funny. But when I got the character description, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. M sounds like a little bit of a badass. And then it's like, I also get to know the character with each script that comes out. And like Kat was saying yesterday as well, we, at least on this show, we're not really getting a sense of what the whole season looks like. We're often just getting it one episode at a time and being like, oh, that's where that's going. Okay, cool. Oh, that's how we're going to take that direction. Right on. I've rambled totally off tangent. If you'd like to bring me back to the fold of your core question, please help me out.
No, absolutely. I think those characteristics, I think you embody really thoroughly in that role. Literally, the first scene with M in it, I was, utterly infatuated with that character because she was a badass, or they were a badass, and you could see the loyalty, and you could absolutely see the dry wit, which I loved. So yeah, I think you bring those qualities to M particularly well. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sarah. All right. We're going to go with Winnie's question. Welcome, Winnie.
Hi. So I wasn't ready, but okay. First of all, as a non-binary person, I was so glad to see your character on the show because representation matters, and your character is so badass, and I love them so much. So my question is, because M is still, like someone said before, mysterious. What is M's specialty? Are they a fixer, a blaster, a knower, or a necro, or maybe something else? We don't know.
So this is combo headcanon plus like tiny scrap of information that I don't think I'm gonna get in trouble for sharing. I literally like read it on a piece of paper that was like prop paper in a scene that I had to do, and it never actually came out, but it was like, I think, I don't know, headcanon, small crumb of information that could or could not be rejected by the creators of the show at some point in the future. I think M is like a really garden variety fixer. Like,
Is that why
Okay.
you picked the fixer role?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought so.
I think they're not a Rael. They're not like exceptional and outstanding. They don't suck. I don't think they like squeaked through with passing grades. Like they could patch you up in the field. But I think that's one of M's like core specializations.
Yeah,
It'd
and
be
also,
cooler to be a blaster, not gonna lie, but I think I fix people.
and also
Aw.
M could do anything.
Amazing.
They're not gonna suck. So
M blasts people with their feet and fists, so I guess it's fitting that I know how to fix people as well.
thank you.
Absolutely. Thank
Thanks
you,
so much for
Wendy.
your question. Thank you.
All right. Now we go with Gillespro. She's going to ask her question.
Did it work?
Yes.
Perfect. Hello, and thank you for being here. It's exciting.
Good morning. Oh no, good now. I love that. I've never heard that before. Good now.
Yes, good now. Well, good morning to you. My question is, I really just want to know how the whole matcha thing is going for you, and if you're noticing any good health benefits that have happened since you've been away from coffee.
Thanks so much for that question. Recap, I fucking love coffee, all right? Like I'm a coffee snob. I like buy little like locally roasted beans everywhere I go. I have no fewer than 7 ways of making coffee at home. I love the ritual. I love this. I love all of it. Like down to grinding the beans, okay? Like
Yes. Yes.
Autism went in hard on coffee. And I geez, guys, like I was having a hard time this fall and like early winter, and I was like, I don't know what else to do. I'm stressed out, and I'm 30 years old, and I play on a show where everyone's between 22 and 24 years old, and I do genuinely think that 6 to 8 years of drinking heavy amounts of coffee will yellow your teeth more than your co-stars. So I had this like I had this moment before this season where I'm like, oh, what if my teeth are more yellow than everyone else's? No. I was like, all right, buddy, your anxiety's out of control. Your teeth are fine, but you're weirdly fixating on that right now. Let's just do something about that. So I decided to try some matcha. I'm like, my teeth they're gonna do their own thing. I use my whitening toothpaste. If I just am not reintroducing stains to them all the effing time, I'm sure I'll feel better about this because I'll feel like I did my homework before I go start season 3. And also, everyone says coffee causes anxiety, but then it's just like too much of an obsession for me to really let it go. But I managed to switch to matcha when I came here. And like, god damn it, it's good. I miss like the taste and ritual of coffee, but I mean, making proper matcha has a really beautiful ritual as well. And I've been reading about it. I gave some matcha to there's a really sweet shuttle driver on our show named Jack that every cast member loves. I've never met a sweeter human. And I was talking about matcha to him one morning. He's like, oh, I'll try it. And so I made him one. And he was like, why do I feel a little high? And I was like, I don't know. Why? And then I was like, wait. And I ran to Google. And I like just typed it in, like cold, like that to Google. And it's a thing that people talk about with matcha. So it causes it actually creates these feelings of calmness because there's really high levels of something called L-theanine. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's got other stuff beyond the caffeine, and the caffeine releases in a different way in your body than coffee. Coffee just shunts it all into your bloodstream in one go, and then matcha is... No, I did not get a set number high, Cat. No. I'm setting this straight now. They said it was like it. And they could have been speaking metaphorically or hyperbolically. They've probably never done anything like that in their life. Also is legal in Canada. But okay, now I'm totally derailed. Anyways. Wow, I'm sweating. The matcha adventure's been going great. I do sneak in coffee here and there. I'll have a decaf because it's not the same to sit in a coffee shop and be in your feels and doing some writing while staring out a rain-spackled window, sipping tea. I need it to be coffee, you know? So I'm still on the matcha train in the morning. It's going good, but I do have coffee still. Occasionally.
All right.
Well,
More information than you ever wanted.
Matcha, so.
And now we know that Ess tried to get a shuttle driver a little high.
I tried to bring some nice, even caffeination to their day. That's what I tried, and I succeeded, damn it.
I mean,
Thank you so
caffeine
much.
is a drug.
Look at that
It
matcha
is.
gift. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Well, now
I'm
I
looking
wanna
at the
switch
gift
to
that Caden
matcha.
added. Honestly, give it a go, but don't be fooled. Don't buy anything that's a tea bag that says matcha green tea. It's a lie in a
no.
bag. It's a lie.
Yeah.
A lie in a bag.
I'm also a huge coffee drinker, so I understand the struggle.
I find I definitely don't need my coffee when I have matcha. And it was the weirder part was waking up in the morning and being like, oh, I don't need a coffee to get going. If I miss my matcha in the morning and don't have it till noon, I'm not a miserable monster, which is new for me.
Amazing. And I'm just having coffee right now, so.
Same.
Same.
Well, thank you, Ess.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Chelsea. All right, we're going to listen to Sylvmira.
Toupee!
my
Someone put a
God.
toupee on my head. Oh my
I
God.
love it. I'm fucking done.
Wow. Why is that giving me oh, I feel like it's giving me a K-pop vibes.
You look so debonair.
That was so fast.
It's I mean, that's a bad fade, but it's
yeah,
a cute,
I was about to say.
cute cut. Okay. Sorry, I have composed myself. Please, let's continue the conversation.
Well, hello. After that, I'm not sure what to do. Toupee. Yes. So first, I actually just wanted to address something that you said in your recent interview with Ange Hall on LOTL Media.
Oh, that's so
you were
cool.
surprised. You said that you were surprised that people didn't jump on some of the thirstier scenes with M, such as the training alley.
Yeah.
And I just want you to know, we are a huge multi-shipper community, and there are definitely folks, including myself, who jumped on that moment. So I just wanted to put that out there. Anyway,
Thank you so much for confirming. Okay, I'm ready.
If you could tell your younger self something, what would it be?
Oh boy. If I could tell my younger self something, what would it be? I mean, it's... I think we wanted to go here this early in the chat, guys. I know I'm a giggly, snarky monster, but I'm actually pretty sad a lot of the time. So if I had to say something to my younger self, it would have to be that it's gonna be okay. like getting personal with you guys. It is many miracles that I am still here today. And I'm very happy to be here today, but it was not easy staying, which I think at least a few people in the chat can relate to.
Absolutely.
And sometimes that's in an ongoing way, but like, you know, I think the process of growing older is like a process of continually excavating some version of ourselves that we're hoping to find. And maybe we meet people along the way that make that easier, or we get access to information or care, whether that's relational care, medical care, I don't know, that make it easier to understand parts of ourselves that feel unfamiliar or unsafe or things like that. And it's, yeah, I just, If I had to say something, yeah, it would be that it's going to be okay. And maybe also that I'm not too much. I had a lot of people telling me that growing up. I'd be like, no, you're not too much. Nobody's too much.
No,
you are not
no.
too much. And we're
You're
very
just enough.
glad you're here with us.
We're very
I
glad,
know.
and I just want to give you a big hug.
Big hugs to everybody else too. I've been training all my hug muscles doing circus the rest of the time when I'm not on camera. I'm ready. Yes, look at all these hugging gifts. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry to dump us right down into our feels. I wish I had a slightly more positive thing to share, but that's the honest answer.
And that's
Honesty
what we want
is
to hear, honesty.
Yeah, exactly. It's a perfect answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Exactly.
And very
Thank you.
And thank you
relatable
for
to a lot
being
of us.
here. Like, thank you for still being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mira, for your question. We're going to hear Dan now. Welcome, Dan.
Hello.
Hi, Dan. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm caffeinated.
That is nice. It's too late for me for a coffee, but it is nice. I actually, before I start, Asmodeus DM'd me and asked if it was okay if I asked her question as well, because her phone is not being cooperative. So I'm gonna start with her question, if that's okay.
Yeah, bring it on.
Her question is, which character do you wish you had more screen time with, or is there one you hope to get more screen time with?
Oh, that's easy. Oh my God. Okay, on the basis of ass kicking alone, I wish I could have some Em and Anacostia screen time. Can you imagine the fight scene? Can you imagine?
Hell yeah.
Whew. Yeah, that'd be great. Yes,
I love
yes. Look at that. Demetria McKinney trained her ass off for that fight scene. Like, she has an amazing stunt double whose name is Chelsea. Super talented woman. But like, a lot of the time when you see a fight scene like this, it is an actor's stunt double, just because like the stunt double does that for a living and it generally looks a little better or sells a little better. But like, a lot of this is Demetria and it looks so good.
She's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
100% valid. She's so badass. Oh my God.
And Demetria, if you're ever listening to this, Demetria is one of the very few people on this planet who can make me blush, and she abuses that power. So it's very fun to be on set with her. Yeah.
I love that.
I'll leave that there. She's brutal.
That's adorable.
Oh,
before. Now I totally do. I totally ship them. Oh my God. It makes so much sense.
Is there a name for this?
We're gonna have to figure it out.
Yeah, we can come up with something.
Manacostia?
Manacostia, I like that.
Or Anacostiem.
We'll have to think about it.
Please, says Kat.
Yeah. I'm not getting good feels off Manacostia. I feel like that's
fair. That's totally fair.
someone's gonna come up with
Oh.
something good.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have faith in this community.
We have to give it time.
Yeah,
it's gonna be perfect.
Good things take time.
Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, now for my question. Yes. On your Instagram, you've talked about how on the set of Motherland Fort Salem, everyone's pronouns got added to the call sheets this year.
Yeah.
And how it was a really big moment because you had never really encountered it on any other set before. So my question is, like, what has your experience been like working in this industry as a non-binary trans person?
Okay. Thanks for the question. When you say working in the industry, like, do you mean working as an actor? Like, would you like me to address that in a bit more of a narrow sense or a bit more broadly? Because I've been in the industry for 5 or 6 years, predominantly as a stunt performer and a stunt double. And then acting is something that's only really presented itself as an opportunity in my life in the last 2 years. Like, it's quite new for me. I mean, like, to only be acting and not also falling down professionally.
That is a very good question. I hadn't even considered that there would be a difference, to be honest.
Okay. Let me take a stab at it. And if you've got a follow-up, then we'll dive into that then.
That sounds great.
Okay, so I think that the industry is in a place where there's, like, I feel like we're kind of at the front edge of the wave in a way for diversifying the kinds of gender identities and gender presentations that we see on screen. And whereas we might have seen like very, very limited examples of that just starting to crop up in media in the last 5 to 8 years, there is more of it happening now. Like, a lot of TV shows, you can kind of log on and you see someone who's transmasculine, or there's a trans woman character, things like that. Non-binary characters as well, of course. Like, there's a character on a TV show called The Politician. The latest season of Sex Education on Netflix introduced a non-binary character, and I thought they did a fantastic job with that character.
Yes.
I had a little bit of like jealousy. Like, M is not like anywhere near like the main core cast, right? And we only have a limited number of minutes like on screen to tell the stories we're all here to see in Motherland. So, like, no shade in that direction, but like, there isn't necessarily time to explore a lot of the things that I know people have burning questions about in relation to M.
Yeah.
But in any case, like, it's the start of trying to get this representation on screen and the start of trying to figure out how these characters live in the different worlds that we've built in whatever the show is. And I would say that my experience so far has been one where if I end up on a set, it's because people want me to be there. They've put a casting call out for someone who's transgender, someone who's non-binary. The casting process for being a trans and or non-binary actor is a bit of a shit show still, because like the casting directors are often like middle-aged folks who I get the impression have not interacted with a lot of trans and or non-binary people in their lives. So you'll get a casting call and it'll be a breakdown from production, and it'll be like, we want a trans woman and he should be like or like, we want a non-binary person and she should be, and it's like, yes, we like, there's people of all identities who use all pronouns. I 100% support that, but that's not necessarily where these breakdowns are coming from, and it's just because people are still in a process of learning. So I really do want to temper what I'm saying. Like, I think like in queer spaces, we all kind of, I know our shoulders probably just crawled halfway up to our ears listening to that. But like, I really do try to look at it with a big grain of salt. It's, people are trying to get it right. People are like not necessarily deeply embedded in queer communities or trans communities. They're working in a film industry and they're like, oh, I need this kind of person. I've never heard of that kind of person before. And they maybe have like 10 minutes to like do a little bit of research and make sure they're like getting it right, and they put it out into the world. So I've gotten casting calls for all kinds of transgender identities that are not necessarily mine. And in the beginning, I would call my agent. I'm like, Frank, I am not a trans woman. What the fuck is this? We've had this conversation. And he was like, no, I know. He's like, I know. But he's like, they don't know what they want yet. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, like, he's like, the number of times that I've skipped submitting someone from our roster for a gig because it's not exactly what the character breakdown was. And then the show comes out and I see who they cast and it looks like exactly the person I would have submitted. He's like, it happens too often. So like, he's like, you have to take it a little bit less black and white, which is a really, personally, has been a very weird thing for me when I see a character breakdown come to me and I'm like, this makes me uncomfortable. So what I tend to do, whenever you submit an audition, you have to submit something called a slate as well, where you stand there and you're like, hi, my name's Ess. I'm 5'9". I'm from wherever. And it's supposed to be 10 seconds long. And I'll usually make mine like 90 seconds long. And I'm like, so I know you were casting for X, but I'm Y. And here's what you need to know about me, because you're not legally allowed to ask. So I'm just going to share it voluntarily. And that's how I approach that garbage fire. And it's worked well for me in a couple occasions. So yes, people are trying, and I think like it's important for us to have supportive spaces where we can go to someone and be like, ugh, like someone just misgendered me again today and I feel really shitty. And all of our friends can like jump in with gifts and be like, burn their van down.
Yes.
But on the other side of it, for me, like being public facing as an actor who is transgender and who is non-binary. Sorry, I just looked at Kat's GIF, which is a cute little person skipping along on their way to commit arson. Exactly. Being public facing, like, yes, being an actor is like an independent artist's job. Like, I am just me. But when I go on set, I don't have the option at this point of just going to set and being an actor. I'm always going to set and having conversations about inclusivity or gender identity, or just really like helping people try to understand some basics that gender identity is not the same as gender presentation, and like helping people through their massive amounts of anxiety about pronouns. And I'm like, it's okay, y'all. It's gonna be okay. Like, yeah. So I think if it was something that was happening within a queer community, it would be absolutely lambasted. But like looking out at like the whole state of the union, so to speak, like people are there, people are trying to increase representation, they're trying to be more inclusive, and it's a messy process. And I have to go to set with a really open mind and a lot of kindness and a lot of energy to have those conversations. And I think I hope it's making a difference, or that it's going to make a difference. But yeah, it's God, I don't even know how to sum up that giant ramble I just went on. I'm so sorry. But I think I touched on it.
Great. That was an amazing answer. Thank you.
Thanks so much for asking.
I think a lot of us don't have any view of that part of the whole process. Like, so thank you. Yes.
Someone wrote, unfortunately, a lot of casting is more an attempt to tick boxes rather than showing accurate representation from I Can Be Sane. And yes, I would agree with that. However, I have to put the cynical, more pessimistic side of me aside when I do this work, because it's like that still gets people through the door. You know, it still gets people through the door, and then we can still start to see change happening, because the alternative is that the door isn't open at all.
Yeah.
And like I try to be accessible, like to other non-binary actors or trans actors who reach out to ask me about the industry, and I'm open about this part of it. I'm like, yes, it is a massive amount of emotional labor that you have to be prepared for. You don't get to just go and be an artist. And I think that this is also where like a lot of Black actors have been for the last, I don't know how many decades, right? Like we're starting, like Kat was talking about this. I think Kat even said when she was like a young actor in her 20s, she was given the option of, and I quote, and she quoted, being a hooker or a nurse. And these are very very narrow, very stereotyped, very problematic boil downs of what people thought a young Black woman on camera could be at the time. And now we have generals, right? It's going to take time, but I think it's going in the right direction, is how I tie that thought up.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dan, for your question.
Thank you.
All right, now we have Satan. Welcome. You can talk now.
Hi, Satan. Satan, can you hear me?
Oops. Something is happening. Maybe you could try disconnecting and connecting again. I think it's a thing with the microphone, probably. All right. In the meantime, welcome Mo. Respect Petra 24/7.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hey, thanks so much for being here, Ess.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. So my question for you is if you can tell us what year is M in War College, and also what happened to M's unit?
Yes, I can answer half of your question.
Okay, great.
Okay, so yeah, I've seen some conjecture about how old M is and what the hell the situation is with their like military rank and year. Mm-hmm. In the character breakdown given to me, M is a second-year War College student.
Okay.
I also asked wardrobe department what the bars on my uniform meant, because I was just a curious little so-and-so the second I walked onto the show last year. And they were like, oh, you're a sergeant. I'm like, oh, all right. So I did something good to get there. Sorry, M did. Life and art is blurring. Yeah, M is a second-year student. This is like probably a grossly off base comparison to try to encapsulate what that relationship might be. And like, I know we've just taken the Harry Potter universe away from J.K. Rowling. She's not allowed to have it anymore. But like, yes. I kind of was like, maybe this is like a prefect situation where you have like a student who is outstanding. And like, we've already seen from like season 1, sometimes these soldiers get pulled into active duty situations. There's lots of reasons why your rank might be increased based on specialities and expertise and things like that. But yeah, Emma's supposed to be a second-year student, and it's their first time being a coven leader.
Fun.
They're just faking it till they make it.
I mean, respect.
Yes, we all do.
Aren't we all?
Yes.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Mo. Okay, and now we have Reshi. Reshi, welcome.
Hello.
Reshi, hi.
Thank you for being here. My question is, do you have a pet? And if yes,
I'm so sorry, Reshi. Please go ahead.
Do you have a pet?
Do I personally have one, or does M have one?
You personally.
Do I personally have one? Okay. No. And it makes me really sad. I love animals. I find them a lot easier to love than humans in many cases. The way that my life the way that my life has gone in the last several years has been such that I think I would be a really bad pet owner, because I'm away from home so often. Even if I had a cat, like that poor thing would be stuck with like cat aunts and cat uncles for far too long, because like even before ending up on Motherland Fort Salem, like the year before that, 2019, and well, before 2020 devolved into global panini chaos, I was every 2 to 3 months I was getting on a plane and going somewhere for a circus contract. And I'd worked really hard to get to that point. So it's like, I just, career-wise, not having a pet makes the most sense right now. I came dangerously close to adopting a cat when I was very high on Percocets after having top surgery in 2020. Luckily, my caregivers stopped me. I was crying. I was like looking at the shelter page. I'm like, look at this cat. It just needs a home. But yeah, luckily they took the laptop away from me because, you know, I don't even remember this happening. And that's that on top surgery recovery. I am fortunate enough. I'm fortunate enough to get to babysit a really cute little nugget of puppy whose name is Maui. If any of you guys want to look Maui up, his Instagram handle is Maui the Pocket Bully. I get to babysit Maui a lot when I'm home in Toronto, and I love this dog so much. He has like the head of a full-size dog, but he's only knee high and is like as dense as a neutron star. Like he's this young, cute dog that is, he can't even jump up on a couch. He's so heavy. And he's not fat. You'll see what I mean. Anyways, Maui is a really cute dog, and I get my pet-related serotonin fixes through him. But not when I'm in Vancouver. It's been a sad animal-less existence. Yep.
Who's gonna drop that handle in the chat? Come on.
The what?
Yes, please.
Oh, sorry. I'll do it. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Maui the Pocket. Why am I singing it? Bully. Go. Enter. What? I can't do it. Why can't I do it?
Oh no.
Okay. What? It's just like shaking my screen whenever I try to do it. There! Someone did it. Thank you. Thank you, Shady.
Awesome.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Reshi.
Thanks for your question, Reshi.
Right. Okay. And now we have Ash, the poly agenda. Welcome.
The poly agenda.
Wait, can y'all hear me? This is so much faster than I expected.
Yes, we hear you.
Oh wow, I'm driving, so if you lose me at any point, sorry.
Hi, poly agenda.
Okay.
What's up?
Hello, what's good? I have two quick questions. You decide which one to take more seriously,
Okay.
but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So the server has kind of an informal, like, family community that we call houses. And from the moment you said you're a chaotic good, I just knew that you should be a part of House Adoration. One, because we adore M. Two, you love all our questions. And three, you're awesome. So would you like to be a part of our house, a House of Adoration? Second question. So, like, it's pretty canon that witches receive a power boost through, you know, sexy situations. But their witch mark's getting shinier, their work getting stronger, and Beltane is a treasured holiday because the goddess offers the biggest boost during that time. In that vein, who are the partners you think the real would bring M towards next Beltane?
Who are the partners that I think M would bring in next Beltane? Sorry, I just lost the end of your question.
Oh, sorry, that the real would bring towards M next Beltane.
I think I'm having a tiny aneurysm. That the what would bring? Help me out. What am I missing?
The real
dance that you do. It's all right.
Oh, the dance. Got it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like the real.
Oh
I'm
no,
like,
you're good.
my brain was like going to Altered Carbon. I was like REAL. I'm like the real happening in the real. What? Is this all the Matrix? Okay. Yes, I would love to join House Adoration. It sounds like a good time, so count me in. And this is a tough one, okay? I've been thinking a lot about I don't know if I'm going to answer your question directly, but I'm going to give you my headcanon struggles. Does that sound okay?
Oh, don't worry. We're going to write a fic about it either way. So
oh my God.
Give us all your headcanons.
Okay. Okay, so let's just paint a bit of backstory here. So we saw, like, there's supposed to be space for queer people. We have queer relationships that are in the show. The center of the show, actually. But then we don't actually see those happening during Beltane.
Yeah.
In fact, we see that, like, Raelle is like off behind some bushes with her presumably gay bestie, who is also not into the celebrations. Although we never see words like gay or queer being used in the world of Motherland. Like we just don't refer to it that way, right? Like it's just not labeled like that.
Yeah.
And so this has made me wonder about M, and this is part of like maybe larger headcanon than I can share here for a couple of reasons. One, it would take too long. Two, I'm hoping that we actually do get to explore some of this in season 3, and I'm not sure what the writers are incorporating or not, so I'm going to censor some of what I'm going to say. But in general, I'm not too sure how someone like M would be welcomed or not in that particular celebration, in the military structure of Motherland in general. I think that we might see more positive and inclusive examples of like expansive gender identity in a place like the Session, which has had hundreds of years to like rebuild and reject certain like settler ideologies like binary gender. Maybe, I hope so, but the military is so rigidly structured in the binary way. And like, yes, Beltane is all about sexy power-ups, but we also see like a darker side of that with the Imperatrix and the imperative to like have babies in a really potentially heteronormative way, which then raises some very problematic questions of, okay, is this kind of like for lack of a more PG term, what about like cavaliers who aren't straight? We see Abigail with like 2 guys. So it's like, all right, maybe we've got some bi guys in the world of Motherland, but we also know there's definitely some gay guys in Motherland because Raelle's hanging out with someone who's very much not interested in the celebrations. So I'm like, are people just like gay for pay? And like in terms of the imperative, I'm serious. Like if there's like female witches that don't want to do that, there must also be male witches who aren't super into it. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't have a less inappropriate way of saying that.
I mean, still,
but
the guy Raelle was with was like, oh, if you want to have some kids, I'll do it for you, or something like that.
Exactly. Like it's normalized. Yeah. I'm like, okay, that could either be really dark or just really neutral if that's something that's accepted in the world of Motherland. So now we have someone like M, who is non-binary. And it's like, we haven't explored what that is for M. And like, I also like trans and non-binary communities are moving away from acronyms that like refer to your assigned gender at birth. But it's like that would dictate potentially how M came up through whatever training they had before War College. And if they're at War College and they're having Beltane celebrations, it's like, what role are they expected to fill? So even if M doesn't feel a certain way themselves, masculine or feminine, it's like the celebrations and the high holidays for these like pagan rituals are also seemingly gendered in the context of the military for Motherland. So I'm just like, would M have to play the part of a girl or would M have to play the part of a boy? Like, I imagine it's the exchange of sexual energy that is actually the boost, even if we didn't see it necessarily played out that way on camera. Do you know what I mean? So there's no reason why queer love or queer attraction couldn't be just as powerful. I mean, like Raelle and Scylla were getting it on all season 1 and they seem to be doing just great. And even if it wasn't at Beltane, right? So what I'm working my way up to... Sorry, go ahead.
No, continue. I was just going to say that if it was about power, technically on episode 2, I believe it was, you know, after Raelle was with Scylla, Raelle was like much more powerful. That's how she was able to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like M would also be existing in a world where other witches expect you to be in the category of male or female. Like this is the I have tried to think of so many ways that this could be a positive thing for M. And like I've really tried to stretch my head, but I'm not sure that it's been an easy or a good time for them because of how structured it is in a binary way in every aspect of a witch's life that ends up in the military. So even in terms of like attraction, I would imagine a lot of other witches would just not really know what to do with them, or would have expectations. Like we do see a really common trope in television is the fetishization of transgender characters. And so I'm like, if you don't see someone who is outside of a gender presentation or identity that you're familiar with, and you're putting your sexual desires and expectations onto them, it's always going to be a very two-dimensional fetishizing experience. And I kind of think M might be a little closed off. Like that's been my, like, I don't know, until the creators like point me in one direction or another, if they ever do. That's been what I've kind of had to think through in terms of a lot of like, who would they end up with? What might they be doing at Beltane? I think, yeah, I'm not sure it'd be an easy time for them to finish on a vague note.
Such a thoughtful answer, and I deeply appreciate it. I was trying to be messy on Maine, and you just gave a really insightful answer, so thank you for that.
If you want a thirstier answer, I just want to put it out there because I don't see it happening, and I dug through this server, y'all. Like, I've been in it. I was in this server. I went through every channel deep. I know everything.
Yes.
And I'm just saying, I'll play ball for a second here so y'all can write some fics because that shit's awesome. Love the creativity. If we had to pin this down, I'm pretty sure Emma's a top, and I'm just saying we see a lot of conversations about like our female characters, but I bet there's a lot of lonely cavaliers out there who aren't into the imperative.
Yeah.
Deal with that. Yeah. Take that how you will. Because like there's also this, I hate this trope where non-binary characters are like women light, like diet women. And I'm like, that's not me, and that's definitely not M. And so it's like, of course, M might be in relation to female or female identifying characters on the show, but let's also be expansive here. There's absolutely other witches with more expensive gender identities, and we might not have seen any other trans characters, but M's probably T for T. Like, as a preference. Yeah. Open to other things? Absolutely. But in terms of like trying to overcome some of like the stickier expectations in witch society, T for T would be a great way around that.
Thank you.
That was excellent. That was just like so much and wonderful.
Thank you, Ash, too, for your question. And now we're gonna hear Jazz. Welcome, Jazz.
Hi, Jazz.
Wait, hold on.
Oh,
I think there.
I'm catching up on the chat. Wow, y'all exploded.
There we go.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I was distracted by the Q&A chat. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you for being here, Ess. If I could speak for everyone, we're all happy to have you here. And my question is, basically, your character is inspiring to many non-binary fans, especially to fans that are questioning their gender identity. Personally, I think it is amazing that we have M as a non-binary character, especially to young fans. My question would be, what's your thoughts about playing M both as a non-binary person and as a non-binary character?
Thank you so much for your question, Jazz. That's an awesome one.
No problem.
I mean, I'm really glad that they cast someone who's non-binary to play the character. I feel my instinctive answer leans more towards like my real world experience than show experience. Like, I mean, how do I say that more clearly? More to my experience than necessarily like M's experience in the show. And that's because like, as someone said, like at the start of this chat, there's a lot about M that's mysterious still. And I'm just trucking through the world trying to make sense of it as someone who's non-binary, as someone who's transgender. And like, I'm able to go out and seek out questions and answers for myself that help me make more sense of how I exist in the world and in relation to other people. And I can bring that to M. But the thing is like, I feel like I bring so many questions to the character, and then like, just because of screen time limitations on the show, and like, it's a big ensemble cast and there's so many storylines and on and on and on, there's really only so many answers we can get about M. And I do hope we're going to see something a bit more concrete in season 3 than we got in season 2 about that topic specifically. But we'll see. Like, I'm pushing really hard for that. I mean, like, this is a small tangent, but like, I've had to have a lot of conversations on the internet with people lately who are like, how can you be transgender and non-binary? And I'm having like trans 101, you could have Googled this, conversations where I'm just like, it's an umbrella term underneath a larger umbrella, and that umbrella is the transgender umbrella. And, you know, there's non-binary people who don't use that trans like as an identifier for a whole bunch of reasons. They don't want to take up that space, or they're not really sure how they fit into that umbrella, and so they just focus on the one that makes more sense. But it's like, M is listed as non-binary, and I don't know if this is just like the byproduct of what I was talking about a little bit earlier in terms of my broader experiences in the film industry as a non-binary person, but there's the assumption that non-binary people don't come in every possible presentation there is, and people associate them with like white androgynous assigned female at birth people. And I'm just kind of like, well, I am androgynous presenting. This is okay. I mean, all right. I just took myself totally off track there. Sorry about that. Sorry, you're gonna have to edit my giant pause out of this conversation.
No, you're good. It's okay.
I feel like there's like steam coming out my ears right now. My brain's like working so hard to tie all these threads together. Okay, I've totally lost the thread of it, but basically it's like there's so many questions to ask and very few answers, and non-binary means so many things. Like, I personally use non-binary because it's the most general term. Like, non-binary doesn't necessarily feel like a term that is specific to me. The only specificity in non-binary is that it's kind of vague still. I'm like, all right, I'm transgender. I definitely don't, like, I'm not the gender I was assigned at birth. That's fine. Whether I've done hormone therapy or had gender affirming surgery has very little to do with my transness. And I know there's a lot of narratives circulating in that regard, like trans medicalist ideas that you have to do X, Y, and Z to quote unquote count as being trans. And in non-binary communities, like, we do see that being challenged a lot, because it's like, what does non-binary look like? It looks like everything and anything. And so with a character who's non-binary, I think that also leaves space for, what does that look like in a world where we also have witches? What does that look like in a world where we have had treaties and wheelings and dealings made where a large chunk of land was given back to indigenous peoples, and maybe that ideology that's like core to the different nations and groups in that land area have had time to be revived and thrive, and maybe that's like filtered out into the general witch population who aren't indigenous. Like, so many super cool questions that I doubt we will ever have time to explore in the show, but I think about them constantly. And I'm sorry, Jazz, I went off on the world's wildest tangent there. I'll stop myself now.
No, I think
No, you're
everybody
good.
is absolutely loving this.
Oh
Love
yeah,
the
100%. I love the fact that this happens because personally I can relate. I have ADHD, so I get the whole getting distracted with the question. Before I go, I just wanted to tell you thank you for answering my questions, and personally, I cannot wait to see M kick their ass in the upcoming season. It would be amazing, and I'm glad and I hope that you are safe and sound. And yeah, thank you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Jazz. Thank you.
Thank you, Jazz. And we have Rachel here. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi. Ess, this is kind of more just a quick clarifying question, but did you say you're from Toronto?
Yeah, I'm from Toronto, baby.
I'm Southwestern Ontario, so this is awesome. Hello, fellow Canadians.
Hey.
I hope you're having better weather out west than we are here with a lot of snow and freezing rain. But okay, so my question for you is, what is M's favorite Sabbath or holiday? And who do you think they summoned to talk to, since they also want a candle at Samhain?
Okay, first of all, I have 3 parts of an answer. 1, I just found out that the city of Vancouver only owns 2 snowplows. So anytime it snows here, the city shuts down. And like, I was born in a part of Ontario where like by Christmas time there was like, 2.5 meter high snowbanks. And you just went to school through that. So people are soft on the West Coast, man. 2, I really want to tell you what I think M's favorite holiday is, but I can't because you're gonna see it in season 3. Yeah.
That's exciting.
So,
oh my God.
That was
Sorry,
a
I'll calm
tidbit
down.
that we didn't get.
well, every season has a pagan festival. The 4th episode is always right? Because we had Beltane season 1, and then we had Samhain in season 2, and I'm not gonna tell you.
That.
Oh yeah, it's the holiday. It's the holiday special. Yeah, I don't think I'm giving anything away there, so I don't feel bad. Yeah, and I am going to button my answer there so I don't give anything away. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave that in the ether. You can all run to your resource books or browsers of preference and start digging into what the options are.
Oh, you really will.
I know you guys will. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to take you guys out of my phrase book, and then I was really resistant to using y'all, like you like apostrophe all, because I associate it with the American South, and I'm very much Canadian. But it's a really good inclusive group address, so here we are.
How
Okay,
about
the can use. Ooh, it's very Florida. Can't do it.
No, it's so Northern Ontario.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, bud. Okay, I'm gonna have to go to Google myself after. Sorry, I just had this vivid daydream where this audio chat randomly devolved into a moment of super intense Canadian accent, and no one could understand what we were saying. But okay, the candle question. This is gonna be another bummer, guys. I don't know if you're picking it up yet, but like M is a sad boy. BOI. Sad boy. Okay, so the candle episode, as a little recap after Samhain. Sorry, I'm reading the chat as I answer. M hands out the candles, and one of our units says, like, that's it. Like, we only get an hour. And M says something to the effect of, like, yeah, it's never enough time. And then just moodily stomps off into the distance. All right. So one of the things that I've struggled with this character and done a lot of writing around, or headcanoning, I guess, is something like we've been touching on in this chat so far today about like how someone like M ends up in the military as a non-binary person. Because let's be honest, if you grew up in a world where generation after generation you saw dads doing what they do and moms doing what they do, and you were raised being told that this is like what your life is going to be like, you were going to be conscripted, you were going to, serve your country, like it would be extremely difficult to see yourself reflected in the world as a non-binary person. It just wouldn't be there. And I think that M's experience maybe reflects a little bit of what mine was growing up, where like I grew up and I don't think I saw an example of a non-binary person, and it was on the internet, not in real life, until my early 20s. So when I was growing up and starting to kind of just be like, oh, something's kind of a little off about me, and I'm not quite sure what it is. Some of my friends seem totally fine with the fact they're going to have boobs one day, and I'm literally like crying about it because I don't want this to happen. And like, you know, the internet provides, but at the time, the only provisions the internet offered was you're a trans guy if you want top surgery or if you don't want breasts. Like that was it. So I like spent a long time just kind of wrestling with the question with myself. I'm like, oh man, like if this is how I feel, if this is information about myself that I feel really sure about, that I don't want boobs, horrifying to me, then does that make me a guy? Like this is young Ess trying to like figure this shit out and not having anybody to talk to. And then just not that term, that label, that identity never did feel quite right because like gender has always seemed like the world's most extravagant performance to me. It's all a show. I am a performer, so I love performing it, but like it's fake still. It's made up and it's a lot of work. So I'm just like, I'm not a guy. So what does that make me? I don't know. But like, I also know trans men who are a decade older than me, who I've had private conversations with, and are like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think if I had been born 15 years later, maybe I wouldn't have like transitioned to being a guy. This is also like, this anecdote is including some problematic understandings or use of the word transition. Like, it's not like there's necessarily an end point for anybody, but the people that I'd spoken to, these trans guys definitely saw themselves as people who had completed transitioning to being like living as men, and were privately kind of just struggling with like, what does it mean to be a man though? I'm not entirely sure that it's a thing. And like, that's one of the reasons why I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm non-binary. Like, I don't know what the fuck I am, but it's not that and it's not that. So I'll just use this one to point us all in the general direction. And to bring this back to your question, sorry, I'm so long-winded. I think that like it would be so difficult to grow up as someone who's outside the gender binary in the world of Motherland and not feel an immense implicit pressure to conform to one or the other. Like you wouldn't see it. You'd be like, if I feel this way, then that must mean I'm supposed to be a cavalier and learn how to go build weapons. And like your social role is so deeply tied into your gender identity, let alone presentation. So like the fact that M exists as they are means it really does mean something if you want to start unpacking that, because there's resistance there. But I don't think everybody makes it. And I think that I know people who didn't make it in terms of the questions about themselves or their identities feeling like too much of a puzzle, too much of a locked box, a heavy locked box to like carry forward in life until you find the key that opens it and check out. So I think when M takes their candle, I think that they're speaking to someone that they grew up with who was also transgender and maybe wasn't so sure that they were a man or a woman and didn't make it. And we see that like ghosts are fixed in time at the point that they died from other points in the show. And so I think M always calls this person because this person is really young and they've never grown older than the age that they're at. And so I think M is trying to go back and help this person find some peace, but it's never going to happen. Like it's a child, you know?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that. Like starting out hilarious and then very thoughtful and serious answers. And just thank you so much for M and also like Canadian representation. And like I hope you stay safe out in BC.
Thank you so much. These were wonderful questions.
Thank you, Rachel. And we have Roxy Monoxide. Welcome.
Hi, Roxy.
Welcome. So since we were talking about the candle episode, my question is about that. So one of my biggest pet peeves is when I hear people in TV shows or movies pronounce Samhain as Samhain. I hate that so much. And I was so excited when I heard you pronounce it correctly and say Samhain. And so my question is, did you already know that it was pronounced Samhain, or was that something that like the folks on the show gave you a heads up on how to say it?
I did. I'm a bit of a linguistics nut and love language things, so I knew that tricky MH was not a M sound. But yes, the entire cast and crew knew that it was Samhain. Nobody on set was saying Samhain.
Amazing.
Also, Roxy, where are you from?
I'm from Texas.
Yes. Okay. So listening to you right now, I'm like, oh no, my Canadian show. Damn it. Because I said Samhain, not Samhain. Like okay. One of the things that Canadian actors have to like bake out of their speaking voices is certain vowel pronunciations. We don't say a boot, but we do funny things to our ass sounds. So instead of, if we want to take the name John, John, a Canadian will say John, and an American will say John. Like it's an ah, like it's a higher, it's like an ah sound to the aw sound. So like when I see SAM, but it's gonna pronounce like, I see it as Sawin, not Sawin. So whoops, script supervisor didn't catch my Canadian accent on that one. I got burned early in the season because I was like, rail collar. And they're like, it's collar, not collar. Or like I had to say I was going to borrow something. It's not borrowing, it's borrow.
Yeah.
Can I borrow you for a sec? Yeah, okay, someone said, yeah, but Americans pronounce things wrong. Yeah, but baby, that's Hollywood.
Thank you, Roxy.
Oh, thank you so much for answering my question.
Thanks so much for asking.
Okay, welcome, Allergy. You can ask your question now.
Hi, Ess.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. First of all, I love your performance in The Voice and obviously in Motherland, so it's really nice to meet you. So what I want to know is, if you were inside the Motherland Fort Salem universe, what would your storyline be like? I mean, would you be part of the army, a Dodger, spree? Like, what would you do?
Me personally?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely not cut out to be a mass murderer, so I wouldn't be part of the spree. Anybody Arlen is a dear friend, and like I have to support Arlen's spreeness like in real life. Like, yeah, no, I couldn't do it. Too much of a pacifist. But I'm also not super hot to trot about the military industrial complex. So I think that leaves me as a Dodger. Voice crack. Arlen and I have had many conversations about like transness and gender expansiveness and non-binary stuff in relation to the world of Motherland. Arlen's really helped me kind of Arlen's helped me a lot in terms of like pinning down at least a general universe that makes sense to me in relation to M. They're just a wonderful human in every way and so knowledgeable about so many things. But one of the things this came from Arlen, but Arlen was like, yeah, I think we would see a lot of queer and transgender and or non-binary folks in Dodger communities. Because like to join the spree is like pretty hardcore. Like you're a terrorist now. But like I think there's probably a lot of people who don't want, like, let's imagine you're a parent and you've got a kid who's like, I'm not a boy or a girl. And you're like, oh my God, I'm going to have to shove you into this pipeline that's going to like force you into a box. That's going to make you want to unalive yourself. Like as a parent, that would be a difficult thing for some people to swallow. And I think, yeah, you'd see a lot of that in Dodger communities. So I'd probably be a Dodger. I'd be living on a ranch somewhere with horses. That would be great.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Elegy. Now we have Lemonades.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, Lemon Oats. What's up?
Hi. First, I want to say this conversation so far has been incredible. Like several times have I heard like you say things that I've thought throughout various stages of my life, and I don't know what to do with it right now. But
That's a really relatable. That feels like my default, to be honest. I'm like, oh, there's a thought. Don't know what to do with you. You could go back on the shelf.
well, I mean, it's spinning around there with everything else right there. Like there's a hurricane inside of me right now. But I do want to say you voiced something earlier. Like my big issue with the Beltane episode. You touched on quite a bit. And I just it felt really good to kind of hear you talk about it. Especially when I've heard it described as not heteronormative, and I'm just like, what? I guess not really, but okay. Sorry, I'll move to my question.
No, take your time.
Okay, so M was introduced as mysterious. So I was hoping if you had any information about maybe M's backstory, or if there is a backstory, if you could share it with us. You've kind of touched on a couple of things that we can use to piece together to create one. But is there anything about M's like connections or relationships in the world outside of Fort Salem that you can share with us?
I really want to answer you, and I have like 20 pages of headcanon backstory that I have written. But like I was saying earlier in this chat, I've been working a bit more closely with the writer's room this season. And I'm not entirely, I don't know what we might be able to include this season. And I feel like I have to play it safe and not say anything right now. I'd be totally happy to come back on after season 3, like when the dust has settled, and revisit this question. But I think I probably have to not say anything.
What do we have to do to get those 20 pages of headcanons and backstory?
When season 3 has wrapped, or okay, let me think of it this way. If the show, wow, voice crack again. Thanks, larynx. I mean, obviously the show is going to get renewed thanks to everyone's efforts and go on forever, forever, forever. But if the show does reach a conclusion and does not get picked up by someone else, I'll ask the producers if I'm allowed to share what I wrote. I'd be happy to share it. And if not, then we'll just wait until if the show is continuing, I don't know if I can. And if it's not, which of course none of us want, then I will share it.
That would be amazing.
For 10 years, so we're gonna have to wait for 10 years.
No.
The show's totally getting picked up. We're not gonna let it get canceled. So.
No, I mean, like, I have a lot of theory that I've written about. Like, I've got like 10 pages alone just on like, what does transitioning look like in the world of Motherland? How do transgender people fit into this world? What does the world look like outside of the military? Like, it's global, baby.
We want all of that.
Amazing.
Whenever it's possible for you to get it to us, even if it's a
Copy
decade
that.
later.
We'll give you a whole channel in the Discord to like talk about it. Just go off.
Absolutely.
I am happy with the answer you gave, though, knowing that you're working on some stuff currently
I'm trying.
It's exciting. Yeah.
I'm trying.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question.
Thank you for your question. And now we have Angel, a lesbian in development.
Yes.
Not to heard Cat.
I know. Yes. No, I'm caught up. Yes. Lesbian in development. I'm so proud of you. Good job on the handle update.
Kat really, she made me realize that I needed to redefine my narrative, and so this is where we are now. I'm in development.
Yeah, that was some real talk.
I love that you listened to the full 2 hours of all of us just fangirling over Kat. Kudos. That was long.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here. I just want to say before I jump into my question, everything that you said today has been amazing. We love all of it in the lower parts, which are, just honest and part of our community, but also the fun parts have been great. Also, we all feel the ADHD, as you heard last night, and you'll see today. It's very strong. I also kind of want to ask if you've actually been in dungeon or not, and I don't know if I want the answer to that. So I'm going to ask my other question.
I've been everywhere.
Oh, see, that's terrifying.
Yeah, I've been everywhere.
Listen, y'all, listen. I work on a Disney show, so I have to be outwardly Disney facing. But please remember, I have worked as a circus artist for years.
You have seen
Nothing in any of these channels can shock me. Nothing. Nothing.
If you wanted to come join a Dungeon Voice channel chat, which really goes everywhere, I think we might die a little, but we would be to accept you there. It's a chaotic place, but it's fun. Also, just saying, Dark Halos, our house is amazing. We have fun. Allison is an amazing artist who made a beautiful toupee edit for you, and she's in our So just saying. We're also
no.
Mm-hmm.
Another pitch. Shit.
I'm just saying, we're also amazing, and we also accept alliances and marriages. It happens.
If you're pitching here, 2 of the mods are in House of Duality, so...
How many houses are there?
Oh god. Someone else has explained the house structure because I still barely understand it. I literally was just like, Angel! All right, we're in house. And then we adopted to Allison and now Gilly. I don't know how it works.
Yes, exactly, Angel. We have
instead of having instead of voguing dance battles, you have gift battles, is what I gather.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. And also flirting, but that's fun.
Category is gift realness.
Yes. Also, who can find the best gifts from Motherland Fort Salem is always the optimum.
Yeah.
But so my question was, if you could make any scene at all, for all the cast of Motherland Fort Salem, what would it be? And that could be things like karaoke, or going to the beach, or massive fight scene, anything. And it could be just whatever your brain would take you to.
Oh, Angel, I'm still a complete stunt nerd at heart. Like, I want the most vicious slow motion Matrix meets Old Boy levels of gore fight scene. Like, I want it. I want to destroy people. Because it would look really cool. And there's look at Demetria, just an absolute ass kicker on the show. I was super stoked that they wrote in a bit of a fight scene for M in last season, and it was a time crunch, y'all. They had shot the scene where Abigail is having her Scourge battle with the Camarilla, and then gets overpowered and is about to have her throat cut out by Hearst that day. And we were in this parking garage, and there was apocalyptic levels of rain that kept threatening to flood the parking garage. And I was sitting in a little chair in the dark in the corner of this parking garage, watching the clock tick towards wrap time. And I'm like, oh my God, are we gonna not get this fight shot? I was biting my nails. I was like, please don't take this away from me, universe. I really want this. We shot that fight scene in 30 minutes. We did 3 takes, I think. And it was, I think it turned out well, but it's not even begun to scratch my itch. I got to do a lot of things in my stunt career. I've jumped off buildings and gotten hit by cars and flown around in wires and all sorts of things. But it's a funny thing. Usually you're in a fight scene if you're stunt doubling someone, and I didn't get to end up doing stunt contracts where I got to do a lot of fighting, which is a bummer for me because in a past life I was a Muay Thai kickboxer and won a North American championship, and I still love beating people up in my mind. So if I can do that more on camera, I will be a very happy potato.
Well, yes, that sounds amazing. And I think I'm so grateful that we got the fight scene that we did. The fact that you did that in 3 takes is pretty impressive. But also, at some point in the future, I would love to go through the evolutions of Ess because you've had so many lives, and they all sound wildly different and very interesting. So thank you for being here, and thank you for answering my question.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Angel. And now we have Isidora's lap pick.
And if I may just interject for a moment, since Ess already started talking about a bit of stunt work and fight scenes, we do have a question from Nice Sane, which is, what is your favorite stunt that you have ever been involved in?
Oh. You mean me, not M, right?
Yes, you, because you have done a lot of stunts.
My favorite stunt. Okay, that's a tricky one to answer a little bit because favorite implies that it was an enjoyable experience. And doing stunts is mostly a terrifying experience for me, or at least it was. I'm sure there's lots of stunt people out there who maybe get action scenes or contracts where it feels like really squarely in their wheelhouse, or maybe they're not scared of the things that I'm scared of. But like, I think a lot of stunt people have a lot of bravado, but if you're not scared about what you're doing, depending on the stunt, it implies that you don't fully understand the risks that you're taking. Like, stunt people are, by definition, disposable parts of a cast. You're literally there so that if you break, the show will keep going. Which is really dark, but there you go. And I'm terrified of heights. So I've had to do a lot of stunts where I'm on high things I have to jump off of, and I hate it. So I can't say that those are my favorite, even if it was like I have stunts where I felt the bravest. But I'll tell you a story about the stunt I felt the most proud of. Does that work?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I was like a complete horse nut kid, but I was growing up in a small town like 90 minutes north of Toronto in suburbia, and my family very much did not have access to or finances for me to be a true horse person at all. And my awesome mom finally caved in after me begging for years to like just be around horses more, and found this old Welsh lady 30 minutes drive north of where we lived who did like Saturday morning riding lessons for $15. And so I did riding lessons on Wednesdays or Saturdays for about, oh my God, how many years? Over a decade, like a long time. I just freaking loved horses. Now, this Welsh lady would like rescue racehorses like sent to auction, or horses that were like destined for the slaughterhouse. And like these horses, sometimes like racehorses are pretty much only run in one direction, friends. So like trying to get an racehorse to run in the opposite direction is a bit of a thing. And they're all school horses who sometimes don't really feel like doing the lesson that day, even if you showed up feeling like it. So my riding career was one that was punctuated by a lot of getting bucked off, thrown into fences, thrown into jumps, reared off, trampled on. I ate a lot of dirt, but I just really loved horses, so I kept coming back for it. And I didn't really expect that to translate into film things, but down the line, when you do stuff, like you tend to specialize in something as a stunt person, or a few things. So, like there's definitely fight specialists, or there's driving specialists, and there's definitely plenty of stunt people that live in Toronto that have never sat on a horse and would have no idea what to do near one. But I got the opportunity to start doing some horse stunts in my career. And that comes down to the decision of the wrangler. So like the animal wrangler brings the horses to set, and they also get the final word on who gets to ride their animal. The stunt coordinator doesn't get to override the animal wrangler and be like, too bad, you have this stunt person riding your horse today. Like there's a lot of care given to the animals to make sure that they are safe and comfortable on set as well. And so it's, the people doing horse stunts tend to be like very closely related to the animal wranglers, and it's a small pool of people. So I felt really lucky that I was able to do any horse stunts at all during my career. It meant that the people who owned those horses and brought them to set thought I was competent enough to take good care of their animal on camera. I got asked to do this stunt. A coordinator called me and said, "Oh, can you gallop a horse bareback?" I was like, the old Welsh lady that I took lessons from was not into anything involving less than full English tack. So I was like, no, I've got a pretty good seat, but like it's been, a long time. Let me go to my friend's farm and I'll hop on a horse and we'll gallop it bareback. And if I fall off, then I'll let you know that I can't do the stunt. And if I can do it, then I'll accept the contract. So I went out to my friend's farm and she was like, sure, go out to this field. We tested it out. It went fine. I didn't fall off. But the hard part is stopping, not necessarily getting going. As the horse is moving, like sitting on it without a saddle isn't so bad. But when it breaks its gait from like a gallop to a canter to a trot, it gets really bumpy. And you're pretty much just like holding on for dear life. But didn't fall off. So I was like, all right. I felt comfortable accepting the contract. Like I wasn't going to make an ass of myself. And told the coordinator I'd do the gig. We go out there. I'm doubling an actor, so they've put a wig on me, and I'm wearing the actor's costume. And I get walked up to the horses, and there's already people sitting on the horses because they're often walking them around to like warm them up or keep them calm. And the coordinator goes, "Hey, so this is Pat. He's a professional rodeo rider. You're going to be riding with him." I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?" And they're like, "Yeah, you're riding double." And in my head, I'm like, shit. I've never ridden double with someone before. That's where you have two people on the horse. And they hadn't necessarily described the stunt that way. I was just asked if I could gallop a horse bareback. And so I was like, okay, is this like a different scene? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, are we trotting double? They're like, no, you're galloping double. I'm like, fuck. On the inside. On the outside, I just kept smiling pleasantly and like nodded, trying to be a cool stunt guy because that's what we all do. And I'm like, right on, cool, man. So am I behind Pat or am I in front of Pat? And they're like, you're sitting in front of Pat. And I'm like, okay, cool. On the inside, I'm just screaming internally. Yes, exactly that gif. And I'm like, well, so no saddle, right on. Who gets the reins? Does Pat get the reins or do I get the reins? They're like, Pat gets the reins. I'm like, what do I get?
Of course.
They're like, you get the mane. I'm like, gulp. Okay. So I'm like, let me get this straight. I'm sitting in front of Pat, bareback, no saddle, no stirrups, no reins, just holding on to the mane. Cool. This will be fine. And then the props person walks up to me and says, oh, wait, we have to tie your hands together.
Oh, no.
No.
I said, excuse me? They're like, yeah. You're being kidnapped. I'm like, okay, this also wasn't told to me before I accepted the contract. And, like, you can't really say no to things. Okay, this is really problematic. It's a larger conversation, but like if you've accepted a stunt contract and you show up on set and you say no for any other reason beyond it being related to your safety, you're never getting hired again. If you chicken out and you're costing the production hundreds of thousands of dollars and you're like ruining the stunt coordinator's relationship with the producer, there's a ton of pressure. So I was like, okay, I'm like, I will do it. However, I don't think it will be safe to do this if you actually tie my wrists. They're like, okay, what if we loop it around your wrists and you just hold the ends under your hand as you also somehow hold the horse's mane? I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Fuck. Like I was just like resigning myself to like falling off and getting horribly injured. And then the props master goes, oh, wait, your character has a bag. yeah, we're not done. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like looking around for the actor who's clearly off in a green room somewhere. Like they were nowhere on set. And I'm like, where was the actor wearing their bag? Because when you're stunt doubling, you have to really pay attention to the actor and make sure that everything about you looks like them. And I'm like, is it on their shoulder? Did they like tuck it in their waistband? They're like, oh no, it's on your head. I said, what? Excuse me? They're like, yeah, you're being kidnapped. The bag is on your head. I'm like, ooh.
What?
I was like, okay. I'm like, I will do this, but I just want you to do me a favor first. And they're like, okay. I'm like, can you close your eyes and try to stand on one foot for me? And they did, and they fell over right away. And I was like, cool. I'm going to be on a 1,500-pound animal galloping across a field with nothing to hold on to, with no vision. Like, it's so much balance to stay on a horse with a saddle, let alone bareback and no reins. And so I was like, okay. I'm like, cool, but like we need to cut eye holes in this bag. It was a drone shot. And I'm like, if the camera's overhead, you're not going to see my face anyways. I'll keep my head tucked down as well, but like I have to see. They were like, okay, we'll cut eyes in the bag. They cut eyes in the bag, they put it on, but the wig I'm wearing is so slippy that it starts like spinning around my head the second I wear it. So I'm like, you know, like if you have something over your head and you're like trying to like suck it into your mouth to like, I'm like trying to breathe the bag in so I can bite it to like hold one of the eye holes sort of over my eye because my hands are tied and stuck on the mane. Yeah, that was the situation. We ended up galloping across that field like I don't know how many times. I was exhausted. I think I pulled all the muscles in my groin. I like turned to the professional rodeo rider behind me and I'm like, Pat, I'm a good rider, but like this is fucked. He was like, yep. I was like, he's like, okay, my arms are going outside your arms. I'm like, he's like, I'm gonna squeeze in with my arms. You push out with your arms so we can at least like you and I can try to create some tension to be at least like a single moving unit so we don't start bouncing at different tempos on this horse's back. Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know what miracle descended upon me or what I did to deserve the luck I had, but I did not fall off. And other people did that day who were not riding double and did not have bags on their heads. So I'm not happy for the other people who fell off their horses. But like I was just like, fuck, I'm gonna look so bad. Like I'm gonna fall off. I'm never gonna get hired again. I walked away from that stunt day feeling so proud of myself. Stunt communities are different in every city. And like I never felt like I was good enough as a stunt person. And that day, when I finished that day successfully, I drove home with like the biggest smile on my face. It was a 2-hour drive home. I was like, oh, so this is what it feels like to feel proud of yourself. I could not name more than 3 other people that I know in the stunt community that I'm in who could have done this stunt today and also not fallen off. Like I was real proud of myself. So there's my super long-winded story.
It was a wild ride.
You should be proud of that.
A wild ride.
We are all proud of you.
Thank you.
What?
I still haven't seen the movie. I wonder, it's probably like half a second on camera too.
What movie is this?
I'll have to go look it up. I can't even remember. There was a lot of adrenaline happening. I was terrified. I was just trying not to crash my car on the way home. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
It was a low budget film, so that should, I'll just leave it there in relation to the people in the
your life
comments.
for something you don't even remember.
Yeah, that sounds like stunts.
Yep.
It is what it is. All right. Isadora Slapig, you can ask your question now. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Ess.
Hi, Isadora Slapig. Thanks for being on standby for the world's longest answer, and I love your handle.
Don't worry. I'm here representing my friends Brazilians, and my question is, what kind of character you haven't played yet, but you have interest to play?
Character that I have not played yet, but I have interest in playing.
Yes.
Me personally as S, right?
Yes.
Okay. It's a little tricky because, like I said at the start of our hangout today, I'm newer to the world of acting than I am to something like stunts. So my initiation in this industry was very much like with stunts, half the time a coordinator calls you and just asks you if you're available and doesn't even tell you what the stunt is. And some coordinators kind of treat you like you're being a wuss if you want to know what the stunt is, which is absolutely bonkers. But like, so much of it is this like posing game where you're like, yeah, I can work. See you tomorrow. And then you're like, oh, I'm falling down the stairs today. Glad I brought the right pads. Like, it's, I think that my attitude towards the work that I'm doing as an actor is very different than a lot of my peers just because of what my foundation is. So like, my attitude is very much like, I'll take what I'm given. I love, like, personally, I love the worlds of like sci-fi and fantasy. And like we've been chatting about, I love action stuff and I love getting to blend that part of my life with this new part of my life as an actor. Any characters that roll all those things together are things that I get really excited to play. And also, like, just in terms of the representation conversation that we've been having, I'm excited to play more transgender characters and non-binary characters that are well-rounded, three-dimensional people, whatever world that's happening in, because I think it's really important.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, and we have Satan, who's going to ask.
We have the cat first.
Oh, yes. We do have the cat first. Hey.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Hey, yes. The cat. What's going on?
Oh, God. Okay. Sorry, I'm having trouble remembering my question because I got distracted by the horse story nightmare, and honestly, I feel so bad for laughing at that because it sounds horrific.
If you can't laugh about it, we'd be crying, so I'll take the laughter.
Yeah. My question was, speaking kind of from an autistic person to an autistic person, how do you balance your sensory needs with being on set? You don't have to answer that. It's just like something I've always been curious about.
It's a great question. So I got my autism diagnosis this summer, and I'm still acclimating, orienting to that diagnosis, even if autism is a lens I've been like using to make sense of my life for longer than that. However, I don't know if anyone can relate to this, so let me restart that, friends. Yes, my diagnosis is recent. I was rambling and basically saying, I'm not sure if anyone else does this, but I have been using, I've been thinking about like autism spectrum as a lens to make sense of my life for much longer than that. And I said, maybe people here can relate, but like, kind of like what we do with gender identity questioning, or if we're questioning our sexuality, where we're like, I've just heard about this thing, or I've just met someone who is this thing. I'm going to go dive down a super deep, dark research hole on the internet for hours and find out everything there is to know about this thing. And now that I have acquired all this information, I'm going to put it on a shelf because I couldn't possibly be me. Me? No. Perish the thought. That's like me in terms of autism. Like when I was 20 and doing my undergrad degree at the University of Toronto, sorry, I'm just looking at someone. Satan is saying the volume is really static for them. Is my audio coming through okay, everyone? Or
yes, fine for me. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, just double checking. Yeah, when I was 20, I was in the equity studies program, and I was doing a lot of specialization courses in disability studies, which is not like a medical program of like study one different disability every week. It's more like a sociology program where you're studying how on earth humans manage to construct fallacies of normalcy in every aspect of our existence, which is right up my alley. And there was an older student in my program who was like, oh, there's a peer mentorship program starting up for students with autism if you want to be a peer mentor. And I was invited to the group, and we went to like a workshop, which was a super general overview. And I had never had any exposure to like autism conversations prior to that. And I remember sitting in this PowerPoint presentation, just like cheesy, like triple taking back and forth between like the presenter and my peers sitting at the table. Because I was like, this is bullshit. Everyone is like all these things on this checklist. This is everyone. And my friends are just like looking at me and laughing. I'm like, why are you laughing? And they're like, no, S. And I'm like, no, I don't get it. And they're like, it's just you, buddy. And I'm like, I still don't get it. And then, in retrospect, I think I was invited to the peer group to be a peer, not a mentor. And I thought I was being asked to be a mentor. So, there's an embarrassing memory to bubble up. But
I don't
anyways.
think it's embarrassing. Like speaking kind of, I've had my diagnosis quite a while, and I can say that I can spot other autistic people a mile off. So that's nothing to be embarrassed about. That's just them recognizing something familiar in you. Like, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, no. I'm not embarrassed. I mean, sorry. I'm thinking about the person who invited me to the group and how much they've roasted me over the years for being like so oblivious to my own neurodivergence. They heckle me real good. But anyways, I also, so it was hard for me to kind of parse out what my sensory needs might be as an autistic person in relation to my rather extreme head injury history, which was unrelated to stunts, believe it or not. Yes, that means that a stunt career was a terrible decision, but that's a story for another time. But anyways, if you've had a lot of head injuries and some bad ones, like I've had about 9 concussions, and the last one was technically more of a moderate acquired brain injury, and it took me about a year to get over it. And
oh my God.
There was points where I couldn't talk. There was points where I couldn't read. Like I've had a time. And when you're in like long-term head injury recovery, sensory things just kind of get a bit messed up. So for a long time, I was like, oh, this is happening because I've had concussions, or, oh, this is from my head injury. And then now I'm like, who knows what's autism and what's my scrambled egg of a brain. But it is very overwhelming to be on set, to finally get to your question. And I've learned from last season that I need to have my sound canceling headphones on set. And like,
I don't know about you, but I live with those.
Yeah, I wasn't last year because like also my orientation to set etiquette and like the sociology of set was like, be available, be alert, be present, say hello to people. Don't say hello to the actors if they look like they're busy. And then I'm like, wait, you're an actor now. What do you do? Shit, what's protocol? Because like as a stunt person, you just like sit in the corner until it's time to fall down and like try to stay out of the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was so burned out after last season. Like I was just, and I couldn't figure out why I was having such a hard time. Like I was just like, man, like does everyone else have this hard of a time? Like the emotional output required to like get into character, be in character, stay in character, and then deprocess at the end of the day, along with the absolute maelstrom of like social interaction and unspoken rules of just being on a film set is really overwhelming for me. And I'm not sure. M is 15 on the call sheet. I'm not number 1 on the call sheet, and every set is different. I think when you're higher up on the call sheet, sometimes you can have a bit more control over what set is like, you know. I'm not that important. I just try to be ready for my scene and be a pleasant person to work with. But I'm learning this season that I really do have to balance out. The bright lights are really difficult for me. Film sets are quiet a lot of the time, but green rooms can be busy, or like when you're in blocking, so like before you shoot a scene, they'll block the scene. So all the heads of the departments come in and the actors are there, and you kind of run through your lines, and the camera ops and the directors figure out where you're going to stand on the set and what angle they're going to shoot from. And then everyone is cleared out and they set up the lights and they shoot the scene for real. But blocking can be quite chaotic. And I think that's one of the most sensory challenging moments on set for me, especially if it's with a lot of the other actors. Because, I mean, you folks all know that there's a lot of really close friendships amongst the cast on the show. People have a good time and they joke around. It can get quite loud. And I find it really distressing. Mm-hmm. I've stopped trying to like keep my face in a pleasant mask. I just like this season, I'm like, I don't care if it looks like I've swallowed a bumblebee. I'm not going to pretend that it's not difficult for me. But you know, I'll just wander off to the quietest part of the room, or literally just close my eyes and try to do like some on the spot meditation and ignore everyone around me, and then I try to make up for it by being pleasant and engaged with whoever those actors are afterwards to try to offset what I'm sure comes off as odd behavior, but it's what I need to do my job. And I didn't balance that well last year. Like, there was points on set for me where I don't feel like I did as good a job as I could have done because I wasn't able to rapidly adjust enough to like all of the sensory stimuli coming in, but also all the social factors, if that makes sense.
Absolutely makes sense. Social drain is a different kind of drain to physical or sensory drain, isn't it?
Yeah, so this season I'm like, okay, you're the one who wears it if you're not feeling like totally anchored in the character when the cameras start rolling. So like, if it's weird for people or off-putting, like just fucking deal with it and then explain afterwards if people are looking at you kind of funny. And it's been going well. Of course, everyone's lovely on the set. I was very excited when I showed up this year to have this information for people because it's helping me take so much better care of myself. And for the people who care about me, it's helping my friends take better care of me because it's like a pattern they can follow, or there's rules they can follow. Like, Ess doesn't like these sounds or whatever. But I've also learned I love it. I think it's a wonderful thing to have learned. And like, yes, it was overwhelming initially with the diagnosis, which I wasn't anticipating. But by the by, it's been a positive experience. And so like I marched on to set this year and people were like, Ess, how are you? What have you been up to? I'm like, I'm great. I just got my autism diagnosis. And everyone's like, oh, silence. And I'm like, what is going on? And I couldn't figure it out. And then I was like, oh, other people aren't super comfortable with that. Cool. I'll just keep that to myself. But yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm there to work, not to tell people about autism and all of my special interests. So it's totally fine. But that was just kind of a funny thing that happened to me this year.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It means like the world to me. Thank you so much. You never see anything as far as positive representation goes in the media. So thank you. You're doing a major job.
Thank you so much for the question. I'll keep doing my best. Ganbatte kudasai.
Thank you, Kat. All right, we're gonna try with Satan one more time. And no, we cannot hear you. No. But so Satan's question is okay, hold on. They're trying to DM me.
Sounds good.
Okay, but so the question was, what are your thoughts on how twins would be treated in Fort Salem? Like, would they be in the same unit? How do you think that would work? Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Huh. I've never thought about that. Well, I mean, damn, like twins come in such a massive variety as well, though. Like, I know twins who had like toddler twin language and are extremely similar, and twins who are extremely different. I'm not entirely sure it would be super different than real world unless the creators, unless Elliot wanted to have it have special significance for witches. I think there's a lot of like really ripe territory to explore, something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, can twins combine seed sounds in a super cool way? Is there like an amplification effect because you have two humans who are so like closely intertwined? Or is the military awful and separates them? Like, I hope it's the first one. Just riffing here.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, now we have some questions from people who are not here or are a bit shy to ask their questions themselves.
Okay.
So number one is a question by Fighting for Petra 24/7. What canon work would you like to be able to do in real life?
Canon work. Ooh. But off canon work's so much more fun. Okay, canon work.
We can do both canon work and off canon work.
Let me think. Sorry, friends, my brain just like spun down several revolutions. Let me see. Sorry. I'm just sitting here. I'm like, it'd be nice if I could make it rain so that the streets emptied out and it would be quieter walking around because my brain is still stuck on the autism question. I mean, Em is an American witch, and like we do see that the American military has like a focus on vocal work on seed sounds. And I know the bellwethers are big weather working witches, but my brain right now is going, we've seen weather stuff. We've seen like combat applications, which I don't feel like, I mean, that'd be super cool, but I don't think it would be appropriate for me to use my everyday life to just like wind strike my way through like a car that's in the parking spot that I want. So, my brain's just latching onto weather workings. I know Em's not a bellwether, but that'd be nice. Just, I like the rain. Rain would be nice. It's a nice quiet rain.
Rain is nice.
There's knowing too, says Double O Dreams. My brain's already overwhelmed and saturated enough with the knowing it's able to take in. So I'm gonna pass on that one.
All right, thank you. We have two questions here, one by Amy. What was the hardest scene for you to do? What happened?
Did your audio cut out, Jules?
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we have two questions here, one from Amy. What was the hardest scene for you to do? Mm-hmm. And one by Impact Velocity. Which set is your favorite?
Oh, okay. Which scene was hardest to do? That scene, the Samhain scene where we're doing we're whipping all of the arrows out of the air from the ghostly regiment. That was a physically difficult scene to shoot. So you can see that it's raining in that scene, but like when that episode aired, I was so shook because I'm like, that just looks like a nice thick rain, and it was biblical. It was apocalyptic levels of rain. I don't know that I've ever been outside in such torrential downpour. It was so much rain, and it was so heavy that the crew members literally could not hear each other unless they were only a few feet and shouting. And then like the camera ops and the crew members are like, you know, a good 20 feet down the hill. Like 6 meters down the hill. For all of the European friends on this server, Canadians have been mutated by the Americans' imperial system. We're a metric country, but we talk about such a mix of things in imperial and metric. So, sorry, Canadians talk about short distances in feet and inches sometimes. No, medium distances in feet, short distances in centimeters and millimeters, long distances in kilometers. Like, I would have no idea what 600 miles is, but I know what 20 feet is. Anyways, the crew was down the hill. No one could hear each other. There was like a mudslide happening around the bonfire while we're trying to like see where everyone is in rain so thick that like you couldn't even see a few feet in front of yourselves, and we're whipping weapons around our heads. And it was cold because we shot that in December. So it was very physically challenging. It was very technically challenging. People were pretty miserable that day. Like everyone was just shivering. I think everyone was wearing 3 pairs of wool pants underneath their uniforms that day.
Yes.
What was the second question?
What was your favorite set?
Oh, my favorite set. I mean, I do think that like the common room that we're in is super cozy all the time. Like if I could hang out in front of that fire with all those old books and those nice leather couches, I would be really happy. Yeah. And I mean, also, as an alternative, the other sets that we see M showing up in is a riot in episode 4, a murderous parking garage in episode 4, biblical rain in episode 5, and then like a witch plague bomb in episode 10. So I mean, the common room's really the only safe place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I've walked through the Necro Lab and it's so cool. I love it's built on the stage. The stages where we shoot, and like the design is so awesome. But I don't get to perform in the Necro Lab, but it looks really cool.
Amazing. All right, we have Angel here. Welcome, Angel.
Hi there. This is the other Angel from the House of Dark Halos. I have a question. I'm trying to remember it. I think it was. Hi.
You have a
nice
beautiful
to meet you.
voice.
Oh, thank you. So do you. I've been over here for like 2 hours, kind of just fanning myself. So I guess that's a kind of a mutual thing here. I was a big fan of Orphan Black, which I know was kind of random, but Tatiana Maslany would always talk about, I guess, kind of getting into character by making different playlists for each person she was playing to kind of get into that headspace to make sure she was, playing Allison or playing whoever. So I'm just kind of curious, do you maybe have any songs or anything that you think are more M than S?
That's not something that I've done, but I also hadn't. I took a quick scan of the questions right before I logged on, and I saw yours, and I hadn't seen that. I'm actually really curious to try that as a way to get in character. So if I make an M playlist, I'll share it. But as a consolation prize, I'll give you an anecdote. If you're an Orphan Black fan, I worked with hold on, let me just make sure. Ari Millen. When I worked I worked a catering job when I worked at U of T, and Ari Millen and I were both cater waiters for years together. Long before I had any inkling that I would ever work in the film industry, Ari was already an actor, and he landed Orphan Black, and then he left Heart House. It was like in-house catering at one of these really cool old Gothic buildings on the U of T campus. And we would serve these like 300-person weddings in the Great Hall, which looks like the Harry Potter Great Hall, but in real life.
Oh my God.
And my creepy, distinct memory of Ari is that he smelled so good. He wore this Tom Ford cologne. I know because I asked him, because I couldn't stand it. After months of working with him, I'm like, Ari, I know this is inappropriate, but I just need to know, what cologne are you wearing? He's like, it's Tom Ford. I'm like, of course it's Tom Ford. But I would definitely, maybe, I don't know, can't confirm, try to like grab the plate behind Ari so I could just like walk behind him out into the event and be like, I'm in this tiny momentary heaven of like the best smell I've ever smelled. So thank you, Tom Ford and Ari Millen, and my creepy anecdote. There you go.
Well, beyond creepy, not creepy at all, actually. I actually really liked it. So thank you for sharing that.
I mean, Ari might find it creepy. Not that he would ever probably find this
I won't tell
recording
him.
and listen to it.
It'll be between us.
But yeah, I was like, wow, scent goals.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All right, we have a question. Go ahead, Artis.
Thanks, Jules. So we have a question from Nick that did nothing wrong. What are M's opinions on the unit? Did they already know a bit about them from like gossip before they joined Sekhmet? Or was their knack for attracting trouble a total surprise?
I mean, just going from the conversation that M has when they meet Rael for the first time, when they ask Rael to hang back, we do see that M knows what's up. Like M has heard the rumors and gossip, and that's kind of the starting point of the scene even, right? They're all huddling around the table, the unit, being like, ah, yes, there's gossip swirling. So M would have been given a brief on the members of their coven, I would imagine. But like M also plays things a bit close to the vest. Like I think I said this in the interview when I was chatting with Ange. But I think that I think M is probably pretty unimpressed with what comes across as a little bit of immaturity from the unit as an older student and member of War College. Like M clearly takes what they do very seriously. But it's also not a good way to like build a team to come in hot and be like, you're going to stand, like you're going to be in line. Which is why I think M uses humor to kind of get the point across of like, this behavior is acceptable, this behavior is not acceptable, because you might end up in combat one day and you need to have that kind of like team building. Yeah, did I answer your question? I think I tangentialized.
No, your answers are great as always.
Cool.
Absolutely. Agree. All right, we have here a question from Token Rael, Maxi. What was the brief for the character of M? How was the character described to you, and how much of yourself did you bring to them?
Ooh, hold on. Let me just open up. I should have written this down. I'm pulling up the brief.
Ooh.
That's fantastic.
Hold on, I have to dig way back in my inbox to a totally different email that I don't use anymore. Let's see. Motherland, Fort Salem, self-tape, request.
Oh.
Ooh.
There it is. Okay, so on September 3rd, 2020, our story begins. Okay, the breakdown I was given for M was as follows. M, non-binary, comma, early 20s, comma, open ethnicity. A second-year soldier in War College. Dryly funny, loyal, magnetic, and though a casually confident leader, takes zero shit. M is very protective of our unit and any witch in their coven. Yep, that was the breakdown. And I'm going to need you to remind me about what the next part of the question is, because my brain is starting to leak out my ears. We've been talking for like 2.5 hours.
I'm so sorry.
How much?
No, it's great. I'm just like, I'm not able to hold so many things in my brain anymore. So what was the next part?
How much of yourself did you bring to them?
I mean, I think I'm learning, like, actors, there's as many ways to approach acting as there are actors. And I, I was not a theater kid. I was not a drama kid. I didn't go to tons of acting workshops and all that stuff. Like, I really got the experience I got working on set as a stunt performer and desperately wanting to make sure that the 2 beats of acting I had to do before I got shot or fell down or jumped off the building didn't look cheesy. So my acting training has been a bit trial by fire, and whether this is correct or not in terms of proper acting training or whatever we would want to call it, for now, the rules that I've been offered, I try to find facets of whatever the breakdown are in myself, period. So if you ask me what I bring to it, I try to find all the moments in my life where those things have resonated, and I'm like, this is it. This experience that you had, this emotional memory, this sensory memory, that is what you're going to amplify here. You're just going to screen it through this prism of the character, so now it becomes their life. So I'm looking out through M's eyes with my own, because it's my experiences or memories or struggles or triumphs that inform the scenes that I have to bring to life as them, if that makes sense.
Amazing.
And I mean, I've lived a lot of lives. Like, I think one of the reasons why I haven't totally fallen on my face doing what I'm doing is even in my mid-20s, people would be like, how old are you? And I'd be like, 23. And they'd be like, oh, well, how did you do all these things? And I'm like, that's a great question. I'm tired all the time. I've had a lot of different chapters in my life. I don't quite know how I managed to fit them all in, but I've lived a lot of life, and it gives me a lot of material to bring out for acting, or so it seems so far anyways.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Okay, we have this very interesting question asked by Tony. If you could ship M with any other character in the show, which would it be?
Oh no. Okay. Am I allowed to give a multi-pronged answer? Because this is just
Yes,
okay.
of course. All of the ships, give them to us.
Okay, so I'm gonna be open with y'all that like this has been something that's been hard for me to wrap my head around, and I knew we were gonna talk about it. Cause like even with Arlen, I'm like, these like so many of these ships are so toxic. Like I have a really hard time separating real life from like, no, it's fun to play pretend with these imaginary characters that we love. And maybe that's just a sprinkling of the old autism. I'm like, black and white, this is wrong. Like so I've been trying to sit in that and unpack that and unlearn it a bit so I can have fun with you folks. And I'm starting to get it. But like a lot of these ships, I'm just like, M is a commanding officer. M is in a position of authority and power. It would be deeply inappropriate. Deeply inappropriate. And like also are some of these people underage? Like we're 18, but like I don't know. At like I could not even at 23, I could not imagine dating an 18-year-old. Do you know what I mean? Let alone sleeping with one. I'd just be like, no. But that's okay. We're in the world of make believe. So here we are. I'm going to compose myself now. I am aware that a reference was made by General Bellwether in the previous chat.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm obligated now not only to entertain this ship, but upon really sitting with it, I'm like, you know, this would potentially be something. At least M wouldn't be the person who's most inappropriate in this dynamic. If that was the case, it would be Petra. Like, selfishly, that helps me out. So I'm like, you know what? Okay. All right. I wouldn't be the one taking advantage of someone in this situation. Although, like, speaking as the character, as a person who has agency, I don't know that M would feel taken advantage of. They seem pretty confident in who they are and what their boundaries are. So we'll just let that float out into the universe. And then, okay, I have looking at what's happened on camera and not just me in Dreamland, because I know there's a lot of fics that get written, but I have not read any of them. When I was thinking about like what could make sense, given who we've seen M interacting with, I'm unfortunately left with a very unpopular ship. Because I'm sorry, I know that this is endgame.
Say it.
But
you can say it. It's
Did
fine.
you not see the tension between Rael and M in that opening scene?
We did.
We thought there was going to be something there for a while at least.
Yes.
I mean, never say never, but like, Rael, get yourself someone who ain't a mass murderer. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you
the energy.
You said that with your whole chest.
I did. I did.
Yes,
It would never work, but you know.
But it's fun to think about.
It's very
Yes.
fun to think about.
I just feel like by even saying that, I'm like ready to have hellfire rain down on my head from like the Rayla shippers. So I'm like,
I mean,
I don't know.
We've all been there.
Hope they don't get that far into the recording, you know.
I mean, I'm going to just generously and inappropriately like paste this term over Rael as well, which probably isn't the most fitting, but two sad boys, come on!
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be so good. They're both moody. They're both probably like, M is very serious about their job and takes like duty and responsibility and serving their country super seriously, but I am not convinced, unless the creators want to step in and correct me at some point, in which case I will course correct, but I am not sure that being non-binary and existing as a witch who has to do military service would leave any trans person with a super rosy vision of the military. So I'm just saying, they've both got salty things to commiserate about.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
For sure, yes.
We can see
I would
it.
also
People in the chat are
just
supporting us.
I see that. Thank you all so much. I'm going to tell Taylor.
Yes, do tell Taylor.
I would also just say I don't think you should feel too bad because you're technically, I mean, because of the Imperatrix and all of the ridiculous boundaries, you can't outcross, right? Like you can't date someone who's not a witch. So if you don't date someone who's a witch, you only can date someone who's above or below you.
Ooh, I'd never thought about that. Thank you so much. That does make me feel better.
And that's kind of the way with all of the generals and everybody. It's like they either have to date on their level or they have to date below or above. And there's no way to get around it in this universe because nobody's allowed to go outside of the witches.
You've all clearly done some very good work here. Thank you for your service.
We do a lot
We've
of
done,
thinking here.
yes, a lot of thinking. All right, our next question is by Faye, and Faye asks, what is M's leadership style and how does it influence how they interact with the powerful and talented Bellwether unit?
Great question. I think we can look back to the character breakdown for M's leadership style. Like they laid it right out for me, right? M doesn't take any shit, but they're also very loyal and have a pretty good sense of humor about them. And I mean, in general, my interpretation of that is if it's the if we're not laughing, we're crying thing. Like, I think, okay, so I think that every single member of the Bellwether unit is such a strong character, right? Like, nobody's really slacking in the Bellwether unit. Everyone's headstrong in their own way. Everyone's opinionated in their own way. And if I was coming into a situation where I had to work with a bunch of people who were top of their class, who had had some very unique experiences that their peer group hadn't had, who had had exposure to like upper brass or like been checked out by a director or like in the case of the show, a general, I'd be like, okay, these people are coming in with their own experiences, their own sense of accomplishment, their own sense of self. And I think that some of the strongest leaders approach leadership situations where you see it as your role to help those people become the best versions of themselves, not just to be in charge, which is not a very military way of, it's not like really military hierarchy, right? Like, but I do think that M is not a witch bomb. M is not a bellwether. M can't see sound. And M would know all of these, like, well, maybe not the witch bomb part, but would know about Rael in any case. And it's like, I think M would know that there's an option to either be a hard ass and try to like rule with an iron fist, which absolutely would not work with all of these super talented, strong young women, or to be like, cool, I'm going to lay out my expectations. I expect you to do your best. I'm also going to respect that you're finding your way into your own leadership positions because it's a team effort, you know? I hope that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Totally does.
Okay,
all right.
Let's see if you've thought about the next question in your 20 pages. It's from here, Javier, and if you could rename M, would you, and what would it be?
Oh, I wouldn't rename M. But I mean, renaming M would certainly make it easier to Command F find my lines every time I get a new episode. I saw a question earlier up in the chat. People really want to know about M's last name.
Absolutely.
I can't talk about that yet because I do think we're gonna.
Oh.
There's a chance. There's a chance we might get to explore that in season 3. Not a guarantee. But like, yeah, I think I have to sit on it. I have a really good answer that I know you're all gonna love, but I think I'd better keep my lips zipped for now. But I'll just leave you with, based on my headcanoning, I very much would not rename M. They would remain a mononym.
Perfect. We love that.
Yes, excellent. Okay, another question that we have here. Okay. After the events of season 2, this is a question by Bad Wolf Kaylee. After the events of season 2, do you think M still holds as much respect for Alder as before? Did M have a great deal of respect for Alder to begin with?
I think my answer is going to mirror some of what I've said earlier, which is that I think that M's existence embodies a lot of tension and contradiction. M, like all the other witches, would have been raised with their sole directive, their sole purpose in life as being funneled into military service. There would have been no, when I grow up, I want to be a vet. When I grow up, I want to be an artist. When I grow up, I want to be a musician. It's like, when I grow up, I'm going to be a soldier. And I think that M holds on to that as just like a thread that's helping pull them forward in life in the midst of all of the unknowns and questions about who they are and how they fit in to the world they live in and in relation to the people around them. So like, that's why I say I think they take that sense of duty and service very strongly. And Alder is so enshrined with that. Like, Alder is so synonymous with military witchhood. But I think that for someone like M, at least until we see the confrontations thing at the end, M is not like the Bellwether unit. They would not have had these moments of like, maybe, I don't think they would have had like moments of like special one-on-one time with Alder. Alder is like this almost demigod-like figure who's busy running the American military. And I imagine that for a lot of military witches, Alder would be like an almost mythical creature that they see occasionally, maybe around base. It would be hard to assign human values to Alder in the way that like we actually see getting explored in seasons 1, well, more seasons 2, right? Like with the dynamics between Petra and Alder. Someone like M wouldn't be privy to those moments or to seeing Alder as human. Alder is a symbol and a metaphor. And I'm not sure it's easy to attach more human emotions or values to something like that in terms of like losing faith in that person. However, the fact that they stood with their unit at Nicta's would-be execution absolutely means something.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that makes sense. Okay, we have a question from Mandy Meow. You're obviously a very determined and hardworking person. Your work and achievements are so impressive. Her question is, what motivates you to work so hard?
Ooh, that's a tough question to answer because I'm not sure my answers are necessarily positive. I really would like to have a positive answer, and maybe there is one on a different day or a different period of my life, but I've been thinking a lot. Oh God, here we go. I've been thinking a lot about what it means to have value, like as a human being, and the importance of feeling like you can add value to other people's lives or that your life has value. And it's a difficult question for me to answer. I have really heartwarming conversations with people about this conversation, but I personally, it feels like any positive conversations I have with other people about the subject don't necessarily sink in, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not entirely sure that, how do I say what I'm thinking? I do so much because I'm scared it's not going to ever be enough, would be the short and absolutely insufficient way of trying to answer your question. And I think a lot of us feel that way, whether it's imposter syndrome with art or work or people in our lives. But like, I need to learn how to do less. But like, the only way I've ever approached things is like at a full charge. And gosh, we've touched on so many things in this conversation that I think maybe will help me just dial that tendency in a little bit so that I can take better care of myself. Like with sensory needs, or being like, oh, I'm really cooked in terms of like social demands on me right now in relation to neurodivergence and things like that. But I've never done it any other way. I don't know if that boils down to who I am as a person. I don't know if there's something rather unpleasant under the surface where I feel like I'm never going to be good enough. That's one of those funny things where I can take an objective look at my life and I'm like, no, Ess, like, you're doing your best. You try to be a good person. Like, what more is there? And then there's still that underlying feeling that doesn't make sense in relation to the other things that I can objectively know about myself. And that's why I go to therapy. But but yeah, that's maybe if we were talking about this at the start of our conversation, I'd have a clearer answer for you. But I think that wishy-washy, amorphous answer is the best I'm going to be able to come up with for you right now. We can come back to that one another time, but my brain is tapping out.
On that note,
given how long this has gone on, given such amazing answers the whole time, and
Yes.
It's been a while, so we do value your time. So I believe we should wrap this up.
Thank you so much for being here with us. It means a lot. And you're welcome to come back whenever you want to, and you're welcome to stay here as much as you want to. As I was telling Kat 2 days ago when she was here, this is your home now. This is where you live now.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for inviting me in. You have a really beautiful community here. I saw stuff at the very start of our conversation. People were like, no, hide the evidence, burn the papers. I love everything about this Discord. I promise you that my sense of humor is far darker and less appropriate than I am allowed to publicly share. So, like, y'all are good. You're good. I just have to, not leave a paper trail for Disney.
Understood.
Take from that what you will.
You've already seen things, so.
Yes, I've seen things. Just like shaking in a corner. All right. It was a pleasure spending my morning with you all. I've got nice warm fuzzies happening. And I'd love to come back and hang out. Maybe we should do a check-in after season 3 or something.
Yeah, we would love that. Actually, we'd love to have you and Arlen on at the same time if you'd be down for that.
Oh my god.
Yeah. You know what? Okay, yeah, I should talk to Arlen about that. Like, we're not Arlen and I are not in Vancouver with as much overlap just because of like how they're doing travel schedules and stuff this year.
I understand.
I'm gonna see if I can make that happen sooner rather than later. That's all I'm gonna say. No promises, but I'll talk to Arlen tomorrow. Yeah. Cool.
Thank you so much.
Love it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for having me. I hope you all have a beautiful day. It was lovely to meet some of you and to try to answer some of your questions. And I'll be sure to scroll back through this Q&A chat after I've had a nice long low sensory walk outside because I'm so tired.
Sounds great.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great
an
day,
amazing
everyone.
day.
Bye
Have a
for now.
nice. Bye.
Have a nice.